Canadian play, which has a very, very contemporary thrust to it, as we're going to discover when we talk to the following two guests. Mike Dickson, to my immediate left, member of the cast, is, in fact, Jamie, and he'll be outlining that character for us in a moment. Gene Pyrz, to his immediate left from the dais, also a member of the cast, is Fred. Special kind of character here, and Gene will have something to say about him. And again, if you'll stay with us on this, we have a number of things that are of practical value to you. One of them is the availability of tickets. You'll want to know about that. That's coming up. And we'll also have a telephone number for you, which I can give you right now, for that matter, 772-4322. You're running for a pencil right now, aren't you? Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll hold. 772-4322. They'll give you complete information. Tickets, play times, all that sort of thing. Mike Dickson and Gene Pyrz, my guests this morning. Good to have you come in.
Thanks for having us.
I think we'll start with those two characters, shall we? And Mike, would you begin? We'd like to know what Jamie is all about.
I think Jamie is just a basic, about 21-year-old college student. And he's been away in college, and partly because of his father's pressuring him, and partly because of different things to find out during the course of the play, he had a nervous breakdown and spent time in a psychiatric institute.
So he's a young man with problems.
Basically, yeah.
Now, he has a father who's not altogether sympathetic.
The father is basically the worst type.
Domineering.
Yeah.
Not altogether civilized.
No,
That's a good way of putting it.
This creates then an enormous strain, certainly across those 2 points.
and within the whole family.
Yes, yes. So we have some tension points running counter to each other here, including your character, Fred. Let's hear about Fred. What kind of man is he?
Well, he's led by the father's ideas and ideals, I suppose.
Yeah.
Which isn't altogether good. It's kind of a frightening character because I see a lot of me and other people in it.
Yeah.
You know, just the.
Yeah, that can be unnerving, can't it?
It is.
When you discover that. Yeah.
But an everyday. I shouldn't say that. It's not an everyday character, but as sort of a mirror image of the father's ideals of what a man should be.
Yeah. I suppose taking the play in its entirety and using it as a mirror, if that's a decent way of putting it. We see these tumultuous times in the family life of modern Canadians, 1970s Canadians, 1980s Canadians, which has upset the family in a number of ways. Divorce running high, family breakup of various kinds taking place, and all of the troubles that arise from that additionally. I suppose in one way or another we can see all of that in the Freeman play, can we?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and you can't really blame the whole situation on TV, but you can see how it does enter into it.
I take it TV is virtually a villain here, is it?
Oh,
Basically,
yeah.
It's the beginning of at the beginning of the play, the script, it has written in, what is it?
Dedicated
to the death of television.
I see. Okay. There are some ways in which I can sympathize with that. What we're seeing here then, that is this TV element, is that the input the television has into our lives, and in this case an entire family unit, can in fact be enormously destructive.
Yeah.
Certainly through the eyes of Freeman, the playwright.
Yeah, I think he sees it as a warping factor. You know, changes reality. It doesn't. You overlook the things that are really important, or so the characters do in the play.
Yes, Chayefsky looked at it the same way. He saw television in exactly the same light, and saw it as being enormously destructive, but with particular reference to the people who work in it. And so the play Network arose from that premise. When you undertake to do a role, though, such as yours, Gene, where you discover, as you said a moment ago, certain little hints in there that may, in fact, direct your attention to yourself, that, I take it, can be unnerving to an actor, or else it can be terribly revealing, one or the other. I take it you choose to make it as positive an experience as possible.
Absolutely. I don't, I don't try to psychoanalyze myself, but I try to take things from that are, inside me, the way I feel about television, the way I feel about certain things that other family members say to me, but it is a little unnerving.
Yes. Jamie, though, we would have to say is he's the focal point. He and television, I guess, are the focal points of the play.
I guess basically, yeah. See, it's not really one focal point. It's basically about 3 or 4 of them. It revolves around...
Father would be one of them, I take it.
Well, the father and the father's attitudes.
Yeah.
See, that's the two things. Well, basically, Fred and I are sort of basically complete opposites because the father wants everybody to perform the way they do on television.
Yeah.
And Fred is following that. And Jamie is sort of battling that whole idea. He's not getting into that.
Then what we're going to see then are through the father's eyes, television images that he sees as entirely desirable, almost ideals, I guess. And these should be imposed on the members of his family. You begin to think of such things as the John Wayne image, and as heroic and as noble as these images are, one wonders how realizable they are in terms of real life within a family unit. Maybe the play asked that question, was it?
Well, actually, in the play, they mentioned stuff like Banachek.
Yeah,
the father wants a Banachek.
This is the early 70s that we're talking about. Yeah. Does it arrive at a conclusion at the end, so that we can say this is right and that is wrong? The villain indeed is television, and we hereby indict. And does it do anything?
I wish it would say that, or something nearer to that, but I think he leaves it quite open to scrutiny. What happens, happens.
Yeah.
And it's inevitable, I think,
allowing
in the play
audiences to make up their own minds as to how they feel about this situation. We're talking, though, about villains, though, legitimately in some cases. Would Fred be a villain? In a clear-cut black way?
Some people might think so, but I don't.
Yeah, okay. How about the father? Is he...
The father is basically...
He's a villainous type. We can see him as wearing a black hat.
Yeah, but he's more of an assistant to the major villain, which is television.
Television, yeah. Does the play, even in a marginal way, does it conclude that these characters we're talking about are victims, in a way?
I think most of the characters in the play are victims of circumstance and a lower middle class setting.
The reason I asked the question is that I returned from the Soviet Union about 2 months ago, and I had an interesting dialogue with a lady who was from the In-Tourist Bureau, which is the travel division of the KGB in the Soviet Union. And I was talking to her about television, and I asked her why it was that they didn't bother to put on an uninterrupted television schedule for the day. They'll put on a little material, and then they'll take it off the air for a couple of hours, and there won't be anything on. Then the news will come on, let's say, at supper time. And then when the news is finished, television goes off the air. And maybe later in the evening at 10 o'clock, a special will come on or something like that. But it's an interrupted schedule. And I asked her what was the philosophy behind this. And she said that, we hold the view that 24 hours a day television schedule would have the effect of making victims in one way or another out of the people who watch it. And I thought, now that's a fascinating point of view to take, and it tied in very well, I thought, with what you said a moment ago, and that was the reason for my question. That's the view they take.
That's interesting. But
if you could take Father and make a good man out of him, would that be impossible in the way in which Freeman has devised him, or could you do that?
I think you make a good man out of him. You can sort of sympathize with him.
I'm coming to the phrase, a lost man. As Gertrude Stein said of the young writers of the 20s, a lost generation.
I don't think so. I don't think he's totally lost. I think after what happens, he could grow. He doesn't necessarily grow during the play, but I think he could learn to grow later because of, you know, the shock.
Are we seeing him during a moment of change, or is there no such hope?
No, not at that particular time.
Yeah.
I don't think he grows.
Yes.
Changes.
Fred remains, I take it, static in his characteristics.
Yes.
He does not change. Hopeless. He's a lost individual.
I think so.
Now we come to Jamie, and we have to hope,
Yeah.
of course, that the principle of the play,
Right.
and that there's some hope there for change and improvement in his life.
And that he will get away and hopefully go on to bigger and better things.
Now, he doesn't like these circumstances at all.
He's all his life he's been against
And he wants
it,
out of it.
and all his life he's been trying to get away.
Yeah.
And going to college was his first big attempt at escaping the whole little family ritual thing. And well, we find out that didn't work.
Yes.
And so at the end of the play, you leave thinking, well, maybe he's got hope now. I don't know.
Yes. I wonder how much of the 60s influenced Freeman in the writing of this, do you think?
The 60s, you mean the 60s family?
Well, the 60s... no. I'm thinking more of the 60s social structure and the ideas we were talking about and the ideas that we were debating in the 60s. I wonder if you see any of the 60s in this, even though it is set in the 1970s.
I see the idea that Jamie finds the going away to university lifestyle refreshing and free.
And he particularly likes the open-mindedness, the lack of attitude at university.
Yes.
Whereas in The Father, everybody's like, his father's like a bigot and God, what else?
It really has a 60s sound to it,
Yeah,
you know, as you outline it to us. It really has a 60s sound to it. Yeah, well, I think what we better say to the audience is that tickets are available under what circumstances?
At the door or by phoning that number for reservation.
Okay, well, we'll run through that again for you. Final appearance tonight of the play on stage at Gas Station. This is at Gas Station Theater. Is tonight at 8 o'clock. Would you keep that in mind? Now, here is the second opportunity. The following 3 days are Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of next week. And that takes place at the Kiwanis Center for the Deaf on Pembina Highway. That's Pembina and Osborne, roughly speaking. And tickets can be arranged for under the following telephone number. If you will jot this down, I'll give it to you again. 772-4322. Once again, 772-4322. Townhouse 9 is the producer. You're Going to Be All Right, Jamie Boy is the play. David Freeman, the playwright. You know Freeman's work, I think, and that this is, in fact, a Canadian play. Mike Dickson and Gene Pyrz, my guests this morning, and I'm pleased they could come in and tell us about it. It has gone well so far, has it? You're happy with turnouts? And,
well, for the one day that we've been on,
yeah, last night.
It was good crowd for opening.
Tonight, and then this will stimulate a good audience, I'm sure, for the 3 days next week. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
We take the following 2 minutes out for our sponsors. The Crafts Guild of Manitoba will join me. Well, their first vice president will join me in just a moment after we take this short break.